Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse, and we are back for day 3 of 2024 recap. And this time, this is probably the video that everybody's been looking forward to. This is where we talk about the accessible games, the blind accessible games for 2024. And I'm sure I've missed a few on here, but this is what I've had a chance to at least play and cover, or am going to be covering soon. So we're going to take a look at some console games and mobile games because, again, unlike the last two categories, it's been kind of a drier year for blind accessible games this year. And I know a lot of people are not happy about it. A lot of people are frustrated about it. And I totally get it. I totally respect that and I understand that. And I'm kind of frustrated along with you because even there are games that I play visually that are like, boy, if they would have added just a little bit more, it would even be easier for me to play as a low vision user. So I can empathize with like not being able to play it at all, because there are even games for me that are like that visually. We are still looking at our fireplace here. This time I figured let's go with a purple fire, because why not? And you know what? It's been a little while. I'm just recording these back to back to back, so let's throw another log on the thing. And oh, did I not spell that correctly? I can't type. There we go. Let's roast a hot dog this time, shall we? I was trying to type marshmallow, but it just wasn't coming up. So we're going to roast some stuff on the old fire today. So accessible games. And we cannot talk about accessible games today without making this video a tribute and talking just a little bit about a major loss in our community this year. I did a whole tribute video to him, about him. Of course, I'm talking about Super Blind Man, Brandon Cole. We lost him earlier this summer, which was a pretty shock to a lot of us. You know, again, check out the tribute to Brandon Cole video that I did this summer. But he did so much for the blindness community, the game accessibility community. Games like The Last of Us and Mortal Kombat and Forza, Diablo, just, you know, any number of things. If you have played a game in the last few years, especially a AAA game that has had blind accessible features to it, odds are he was probably involved to some degree. So definitely RIP Super Blind Man. It was really great working with him. I got to be on his podcast a few times. I got to work with him on a couple of consulting gigs and projects a few times, a couple of speaking engagements. He just was always trying to help people. Yeah, just really, really a shame because he was doing so much great work. So again, this video is definitely kind of another tribute to him because he will definitely be missed. So The Last of Us 2 Remastered, that got released earlier this year on PS4, but next year, for those folks who do not have a PS4, we are getting in April, The Last of Us Part 2 is coming to the PC as well. And I'm sure it's going to have all the accessibility features of at least the first game, if not more. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I think the first game is a tighter package as far as like the story goes. It's definitely a bit more linear, and I love the first game's story. The second game is really long, and it has a few open areas to it, but like I still very, very much enjoyed the second game, and I have not played it all the way through. I started the remaster this year, but I kind of trailed off because, again, there's just too many other things to play. But I do want to play through the sequel again. I've played through the first game a couple of times since we've had the accessibility come to the first game on the PS4, PS5, and on the PC. But The Last of Us, can't say enough good things about that. And we're getting Naughty Dog is going to make us a sci-fi game. And I'm very, very curious about what that's going to be. And I'm hoping that's, again, is going to carry their accessibility work forward. So I'm very, very much anticipating that. Rococo Audio Game Fantastique. Kind of this music. It has musical elements to it. Kind of a Papa Sangre-esque sort of a game. I was pretty good at it until I wasn't. Like I just got to a certain point in the game where I was just sort of getting wrecked, and it was kind of hard to escape the bad dudes that you were trying to evade. But a very, very cool little audio game. Conjury. Conjury and I'm trying to remember the other card game. I'm not typically into, these card battler games, but, I think it's with some of these genres that I traditionally don't play, I think it's largely because they just haven't natively been all that accessible in the past. So I think, having games like Conjury and I can't remember the other name of the game. It's in my list here. Having be able to read the cards and all the stats and everything, even playing Hearthstone when I did. Again, just making some of these text heavy, stats heavy, all these types of games, if they're more accessible, I do find that I get into them more. So Conjury is one that I would definitely recommend. It is on PC and mobile. I have to mention Toby Doom. Toby Doom 7.0 and 7.5 are already out. 7.5 added that amazing pathfinding feature, as well as access to a heretic campaign. And I don't know by the time you guys see this if it'll be out yet or not, but if it's not out by like Christmas holiday season, it'll probably be out very shortly thereafter. Toby Doom 8.0 that is going to have Hexen content in it. And Hexen is really cool because, Heretic is like medieval Doom, but like Hexen is Heretic, but what if you had 3 character classes? You got a big old fighter, you got a cleric, you got a mage. Really, again, more cool, unique characters. Now the levels are not going to have the weird open, like hub based that the original game did, because that would be damn near impossible to make accessible. Like I said, I have a hell of a time playing it visually, figuring out where in the hell I'm supposed to go. I beat the first hub, but you get to that second hub and oh boy howdy. Because literally you're going between I'm starting in level 2, which is the hub, then I go to level 3. Well, then I go to a part, it opens a part in level 5, which then I hit a switch in there, it opens a part in level 4, which I have to go back to level 5 to open a part in level 3 again. It's a mess, man. And so he's made it more of like a linear thing. I've been doing some testing, but Toby Doom has been a huge thing this year. We found out earlier this year that it won the staff award in the Doom Awards series, which is good, which is awesome. We had a GA Conf, Game Accessibility Conference, talk about it this fall. I'll talk more about that in another video. But again, the last 2 years have been amazing for Toby Doom. And huge shout out to Mr. Alan D1, Predoa, and all the other people on the team for making my favorite game of all time, one of the best games of all time, 30 years later, still just as relevant in the mainstream. People are still making Doom mods to this day. And now we have an accessibility mod that is doing the same thing. And I don't know if I have them on the list here, but I do quickly want to shout out anyone who is making a mod to make an existing game accessible. Like, I know there was that Balatro mod. You know, you've had the Stardew Valley stuff. You've had Hearthstone. Any number of different things. Huge shout out to the developers of the mods that are trying to make these games more accessible to a new audience. Spider-Man 2, it came out last year, but they released a lot of the accessibility updates this year, and it's pretty good. I've enjoyed, again, it's one I just have not finished because there's so much to do in the game. There's so much other things, so I got distracted. It's the theme of this year. Shiny object, and so I'm not able to finish anything. But, you know, they've added a lot of accessibility features, and I think even since the initial Spider-Man accessibility update, they've even added some more post updates to it since then. So I don't think it's like perfect blind accessibility, but I think if I remember correctly, there's been a couple of blind players that have gotten through the game. I don't know if it's with some sighted assistance for some parts, but you know, for making an open world game is huge. Not just open world, but like, you know, you get a game, let's say Grand Theft Auto or The Last of Us, you're largely playing on the ground, walking around. Spider-Man, you are on the ground, but a lot of the times you are flying through the air. You could have an objective that is on top of a building, on the ground, inside of a build. Like, there's just so many different things that it could be. And the fact that they've gotten it as accessible as they have, kudos, because that cannot be easy. I do not envy that job at all. As Dusk Falls, this, I believe I put this on here because it came to other platforms this year, and they've added more accessibility. I forget even what they add. I think they added like audio description or something that wasn't in the original version. And again, it's one of those that I want to play through again since they've added that other accessibility to it. Because I loved the first playthrough. Again, it's this kind of point and click adventure style game. A lot of dialogue choices. There are some quick time events, but even those are accessible. So proof that you can even make quick time events accessible to blind players. Phenomenal game, love it. Luck Be a Landlord. This was an interesting slot machine type of game, kind of a run-based game. Like you're building out your own slot machine based on, like, it's so weird because like certain types of objects will give you certain benefits. So if you build your slot machine so that the different items that you put in there work off of each other, you get bigger bonuses and such. It's kind of hard to explain, but I did do a video for it, and it's a really neat take. Henchman Story. Yeah, we've got a few different like graphic novel style games that are accessible this year. Henchman Story, you're kind of playing this like henchman for this like super villain type of deal. Again, kind of a text adventure and narrated kind of game. Sorry, I had to get water. Along a similar line, Arcade Spirits and Arcade Spirits The New Challenger. All of these games are pretty similar in like their interface. A lot of dialogue choices. Things like that, kind of a choose your own adventure graphic novel type of thing. But the Arcade Spirits games, they cover like, one's more like, you know, your early arcade stuff, and then the other one is more focused like on your competitive arcade experience. So like, you know, people think about like competitive fighting games and stuff like that. So they cover different areas or different aspects of gaming. So those are some accessible graphic novel, graphic adventure type of games. Slay the Princess, and they made a major update too. I forget what it was called. Again, this is one that I really, really, really want to get back into because I played it a little bit more since recording the video. But it's like a text. It's like an adventure game, but it's fully voice acted. And this game is bizarre, man. You're supposed to go into this cabin and kill this princess, and there are loads of different endings, and you go back and like you loop through things again, and I can't really, I don't want to spoil the story, even what I've played so far. But it's it's more of a dark and twisted take on your adventure game. So it's yeah, this game kind of goes some places. So if you're into that kind of a thing, I highly recommend this one. Slay the Princess is pretty cool. Periphery Synthetic. It's this first person, like almost like a audio. What would you even call it? Um, like it's a first person exploratory thing. Like you're mining for resources, you're discovering things. There's a story to it. You're upgrading once you find these resources. It's kind of got this really abstract vibe. It's almost like an audio synthesizer equalizer type of thing. If you want to get more into like the background of like what really makes this game kind of fascinating, the Game Accessibility Conference this fall, the GAConf 2024, had a really interesting session from the developer about this game, and it was again really unique. Again, one of the games that I want to get back to and fully go through it, but a very cool, kind of relaxing but intriguing game. Now we move to iOS accessible games. And again, these are ones that I have played. I'm sure I've missed a few. So Conjury, we talked about that one already. Dawncaster, that's the other card game. This was another card game that I got really hooked on for a while. I still have loads to do in the game because I'm kind of bad at it. I get to a certain point and then I just get absolutely murdered. So yeah, these card battle games, and again, these are not like just blind games. This is a game that is fully graphical, looks cool, has really cool artwork. Think Magic the Gathering style type of gameplay in a way, or like a card battler. Just a very, very cool game. I enjoyed it a lot. Purple Friday. This one was, I don't remember too much about it. It was kind of like you're exploring and like there's like the sound effects and things. It kind of had this weird, it was a really weird vibe to it. I don't remember too much about it off the top of my head. I know I did a video for it, so definitely go check that out. But Purple Friday was one that I played this year. Adventure to Fate, Lost Island. There's been a few of these types of games, and this is one of the latest in the series. A lot of kind of exploration. They're pretty deep games. You know, there's a lot that you do as far as like exploring and combat and a lot of different things. Land of Libya. I'm going to be covering this game at some point, probably early next year again, because the developer is continuing to make accessibility updates, and he emailed me fairly recently with some of the things that he's hoping to add to the game. I won't talk about them here, but once he does release a major update, a couple of major updates to the game, I will definitely be coming back and showing off that game. But even if it's even in its current form, I definitely recommend it. What? Axe roguelike. I don't know what I meant by that. Because I don't remember a game named that, but that just could be me. So I'm not quite sure what I meant about that. Battle Against Darkness. I remember the name, but again, it's one of those that I don't remember much about. Some of these games are just kind of like, I don't want to say generic, but yeah, kind of generic. So it's like Battle Against Darkness. What was that again? Again, it made the list, so it was one that I rather enjoyed. I just can't remember too much about it off the top of my head. How many games have we covered now? Like 150 so far? Asmar Quest. This one was also pretty cool. I definitely would recommend giving this one a look. Hypership AI. This was a really weird and unique one because it was like a space shooter, but it was sort of like automatic. I don't really know how to explain it cleanly in just a few sentences. I did do a video for it though, and I did get kind of hooked on it for a while. I did finish the game, and if you want something a bit on the different side, I would give it a look. Audio Cat. This one, it was kind of again another different collection of like mini games or shorter games, and supposedly they're going to be adding more to it over time, and I'm curious to see what they're going to add. Check out that video. Accessible Pong, pretty much exactly what you think it is. Audio Pong, essentially. There's been a few different versions of this. I know Microsoft had their one that they released on the Windows Store a few years ago. This one's an iOS version. That kind of, again, uses sound in a different way to play a little ping pong pong game. Magic Research 1 and 2. I got pretty into those for a little while. I'm currently playing through Magic Research 2, and I'm kind of getting to the point again where I don't know if there's something I'm not optimizing well enough, but I'm kind of getting my butt kicked in the desert, and I haven't gotten back to it in a couple weeks, but it's one of those that I need to kind of get back and play again. I really enjoyed, because it's kind of like a clicker type of game mixed with an RPG. So like you build your resources and then you can automate things, and you're hiring wizards to do things for you and with you. You're doing research, you're going on these little quests, and again, you're going through these little kind of, it's like an auto battler dungeon. You go on these different floors and then you fight bosses eventually. So it's kind of a mixture between like an idle game and an RPG. Round Logic. I have not released the video, but I have one recorded for it. Kind of a fun little game. If you've ever played one of those physical games before where like you have these pegs or magnets and you're jumping one peg over another to eliminate as many of them as you can, and you want to try to get down to one peg or one whatever. Like I said, I remember playing one as a kid. It was like a triangle shape. The one in this game is more of like a cross shape. But they're fun, they're simple, but they're very challenging. So I've got a video for that coming in the near future. Letter-like, I have not recorded a video for this yet, but I plan to very soon. Just found out about this one recently. I've played a couple games of it so far. It's a Scrabble / anagrams kind of game that's also like a run roguelike game. Think about like Balatro, or like it's just a really unique kind of a game, and I'm digging it. I'm kind of digging it so far. So look forward to that one early next year. Math Match, not a huge thing for me, but like again, I learned about this recently. This game could be really helpful, especially for people in school. Younger kids, you both learn how to use the touch screen, and you can learn your math, your adding, your subtraction, your multiplication tables. And it's kind of got that brain age quality. Remember many years ago when the DS came out, Nintendo DS, and they had like Big Brain Academy and Brain Age. And I remember one of the games that people would play a lot is just these simple little math drills, and it would, like the faster the better you did, it would kind of tell you what your brain age was. They had other different things, but I remember the math one was that one that people kept coming back to. So now we have something like that accessible on iOS. Super Race Prix. I just learned about this one the other day, and I've started to kind of poke at it. I might do a video for it if I can figure it out. I'm really not clear. There's some things about when you're playing the game that I'm like, I can't really tell where a car is, like if it's in front of me or off to the side. The steering, I haven't quite figured. Like, there's just some weirdness in how the game works that I haven't fully wrapped my head around. But I've only played it for like 3 minutes, so maybe it's just something I got to poke at a little bit more. But it has potential, but it also seems like they do a lot of explanations and tutorializing in the beginning. But I still think there's just something not quite connecting just yet. So we will see. I may be able to cover that early next year as well. And that, my friends, is where we are going to end day 3. Again, I'm sure I've probably missed a few games here and there, but those are the games that I can talk about because I've played in some fashion. And yeah, again, not near as much. We don't have a big AAA game this year. I know a lot of people wanted to play Prince of Persia. A lot of people especially wanted to play Star Wars or wanted to play Indiana Jones or the Dragon Age game. And all of those had accessibility features in them, but unfortunately we're not able to do blind accessibility this go around, which is definitely frustrating. But again, think about it's been a hard year for the industry. It's been a good year for gamers because look at how many games I've talked about in these last 3 videos. But the industry itself for a few years now has kind of been this kind of a dumpster fire shit show, like constant layoffs and closures and people getting screwed over by management. We're going to talk about that in one of the trend videos later, but there you go. I'm hoping that it gets better. And before I wrap it up again, I just want to do sort of a PSA here to say, I know it's frustrating and it can be really easy to go online and go on a ranting tirade. I do a little bit of ranting from time to time myself. But we have to support the developers that do bother to make games that are accessible to us. Pay for them, buy them, play them, share information about them to other people so they can buy and play them. Because we want to show them that we are customers like everybody else. And if they make accessible games for us, we will buy them. And if a game is not accessible, don't go on a freaking ranting tirade, threatening developers and just spewing a bunch of hate out there, because all that's going to do is going to make them not want to work with us. If people approach me like that, whether I'm doing videos or whether I'm doing something for my day job, all that's going to make me want to do is not listen to you. Like, if you have constructive ideas, constructive feedback and criticism, that's fair, that's fine. But, I hate you, you don't even care about people with disabilities, just any number of different. There's been a couple times in the last few months that I've seen little things crop up when, you know, we find out a game isn't going to be blind playable. Again, I get the frustration, but, you know, you have people in these companies that are trying to champion accessibility, trying to fight for accessibility. But, you know, again, if people just spew hate at you for the work you're trying to do, and then you get the upper management that make all these arbitrary decisions, I mean, they screw their workers over half the time anyway, as it is. So on this sort of, you know, niche thing, I mean, it shouldn't be a niche thing, but that's the way a lot of people look at it, is, you know, this accessibility, and they see all this hatred and negativity, uh, and they say, well, if we're getting this much vitriol from our players, and, you know, the people that are making this aren't happy working with them, I mean, who would be? Why are we devoting resources to this audience anyway? And then they could just say, well, this is not going to be a priority for us. So there are consequences for how we represent ourselves and how we communicate online, and especially when we're trying to reach developers and make the case that we want to play their games or use their apps or products or whatever it is. So that's all I'm going to say about that. We will not be on the soapbox anymore. Instead, we will eat our hot dog and we will wrap up the video. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Give it a like if you did. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, Blue Sky at Illegally Cited, twitch.tv/illegally cited, illegally-cited.com, and right here on YouTube. Until next time, I will chat with everybody again later.